Hello and welcome to stream number 59 of this series where we are programming a game live on Twitch for the NES, and I've left Bitdefender open. That has nothing to do with programming the NES. It was just an observation from earlier that I should have closed that. So in the last few streams we've been working on the asset tool because basically I've been changing it to use our map file as kind of the organizational structure of everything we're doing. And while I did work on a little bit and make some more progress, we're still kind of plugging away at it. Let's see. Just notice that the title of the map is no longer showing up here in the window that we create with Tiger. So why is that? Platform initialize. GUI, Tiger, where are you? Tiger screen. Oh, because we don't have the map file name yet. Which doesn't matter because we switched over to project file, which is just a basic text document that organizes some of this a little bit better. So in between streams, because I was trying to minimize people having to look at me do the C coding and wanted to work more on the NES stuff, but it's just a lot of work still to rework this. I had gotten all of this stuff being handled properly, so now the meta tiles are once again being loaded correctly. And we have our project file detecting the files that are part of the map, and what I had done was made it so that, similar to before, if you have the meta tile, if you have the PNG files in the list, you can create the meta tile files by simply clicking on them and clicking on create. It's a little different though, because it's not just picking it up straight from the file system. It's actually looking at the map and then checking to see if corresponding meta tile files exist. So a little bit of the difference there. And basically the idea at this point was that I wanted to get this finished up and using the project file and exporting everything like we were before, but now a little bit more organized, so that when we want to add new levels, everything is kind of organized under these structures of the tile sets and the map residing here, and our text file, which defines just really basic stuff. So it's got the level, we're gonna have multiple levels. These are sprites. I was talking with the artist that will hopefully be providing the artwork for the project, and he made some really cool artwork. Some of it requires multiple sprites to represent the colors properly for the player and the enemy sprites, and so we're gonna have to be able to support that in here, potentially doing something where we can outline how the sprites are composited from multiple different types of sprite files. One thing that I just realized is we're not generating those sprite files if we have those sprite objects. So let's do that, because in the text file we are providing sprite objects there, but we are not actually doing anything with them. So after we, let's see, so read all text, and then we load the project, and the project outputs the map file name and the project files, which tell us what kind of files we're dealing with in the project. Let's do the following. So let's take a look at the project files and see what types they are, and if it's a sprite, then I added this function here for actually we need to rename this slightly. So what I want to do is I want to look for the sprite file to see if it exists already, and if it doesn't, we'll create it. So replace do I want to do it this way? I guess actually I want to do it slightly different. Let's do this. After we load the project, we loop through all the meta tiles that were loaded, and we add it to the list of files that we're interested in. So let's do it the same way, because that's actually going to make more sense. Let's see if we find the sprite. First, let's see if we find the sprite image, put that into the list, and then if we see the sprite file in the file system, we can add that too. Otherwise, you can create it by selecting it in the list. I think that's probably going to be a better option here. So if a file exists, we'll see how long this stream goes. It's been a busy day. It was a busy weekend too. Had a lot of stuff going on, including a lot of work. So I'm not sure how much steam I'm going to have to kind of plow through all of this, but we'll see how much we can get accomplished. All right, so current file list, current item count, full path, and string copy that. So we'll just copy the path and the name. Actually, these are both the same type. We can even do one better. We just do mem copy. We'll say current file list, current item count. And we want the address of this. And then we're going to do copy from project files, file. We want the address of that. We want a size of a file. File system item. So I'll copy the content of file over to current file list, and then we want to increment the current item count. All right, so that, and then we want to take the full path of this guy and copy that over, and then we're going to replace the extension with .sprite, and file folder name, and then if file exists temp, we're going to add that to the list as well. And then in this case, we don't have the full file system item, so we will say current file list, current item count, full path for a string copy into that. Been working with C# a lot lately, so I keep wanting to just copy by assignment. All right, and then get name. Get file name. Get file name will just get the name of the file and not the full path, which is what we want. I guess we can do this. And so temp has the full path. So current item count plus do that, and all right. So that's that. So if it exists, then it gets added. Otherwise, we just get the PNG. There it is. All right, so when we create the sprite, we need to add it to the list. Create sprite. So there's that. So we are creating it, and then same thing here like before. Over, and we're going to update the current file list. With the latest, that's just the name. I guess I want the full, path so that it saves it in the same folder, because I do want it to all be contained in the same folder. So let's do that. So we've got this, put that into temp, full path gets temp and the name. And then get file name. And then we want to add to current item count so that it knows that we've got another item in the list. So if I click on that, and say create sprite, and right, the full path. It's the full path. Let's replace file extension temp with .sprite. Current, no, max file folder name. So that one's going to show up here now. Okay. Now the question is a couple of things. if we go to PNG, there's the player sprite. I assume that that's the one it's looking at, but the palette looks right already, which is too much of a coincidence. I wonder if it's not looking in the right location. So let's create that sprite again. Come on. That player.sprite. Okay. So that did get created. Let's see here. If I click on that, what the path says. That's the name. Current file list I dot. Full path. Assets PNG spread. Okay, that is correct. Good. All right, so there's that. That's exciting. That's working. It's weird that the oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, it wasn't exactly right. The background color was wrong. So okay, so if I switch back, that's correct now. View collision points. I can put the collision points here and here and here and save, and we're back in business there. So that's exciting. That's working. All right, create the sprite for that guy. Click on that. We got to fix all the colors again. All right, so let's swap the background. Make that black, and then we got to figure out what colors go where. I don't remember. I'll just kind of put any old colors for now, and switch back. So it was white with black and orange and red. Well, I guess it's red. All right, well, we'll just make it look decent color-wise. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, and then we say that's animated so that it condenses that down. That looks good. There's the bullet. Let's create the sprite for that. There it is. Excellent. All right, so this is all working. Create sprite. This all seems to be working pretty well. Flip that so that the gray is part of the sprite. Save. All right, cool. So now when we reopen this, it should bring the sprites back to the list. And it did. Okay, cool. And it interspersed them here because it did it on load. All right, so now we're at the same state as we were with the previous iteration where the asset tool was not was just looking at the folder structure. Now it's looking at our text file and loading these things. So now the last bit is to see what the export will do. So let's export prod. So exporting the project, if I remember correctly, goes and looks for the map file based on, I think it just looks for level1.json, if I remember correctly, which obviously we want to change. Oh no, it just looks for the is.json. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to find, we don't want to find anything. We have the map name now. So this stuff is going to be okay. What we want to do is we want to make it generate all of these files now based on the actual level name, which comes from the project file, which is map1.json. All right, so let's change this up. What did I call it? I think I called it map file name. Loads the project, map file name. Yes, map file name is a JSON. Now we can remove this loop because we do not need to loop through the items in the list. We know what the file is for the map. This to do is no longer relevant. Map file name. Okay, so let's take this map file name. Okay, and then we're going to create a buffer here for us to name our other files with. So we're going to copy map file name into this, and then we are going to let's see, how do we want to do this? I guess we want the full path, so that's does it get that map file name? It's max map file name. It's getting that. Current working path string copy that. I guess it should really first do a string copy to map file name. Current working path. And then a string cat. This I think takes this conditional parameter. Oops. This is string catus. We want to use max file name size. Okay, so that should give us. I don't think the map file, the current working folder has the. Backslash there. Okay, what's the problem now? Okay, copy this. Yeah, that doesn't work. Map file prefix, map file name. Okay, so now the map file name should have the full path. So after we load the project, let's just double check that that's actually correct. That it does indeed have the full path properly. Map file name. Yes, okay, good. So we've got our map file prefix here. And now what we want to do is remove file extension from that so that it's just going to say map1. And then we're going to create this buffer for our file names that we're going to generate here. So, for example, we want to do this. We're going to say export file name max file folder name. This is the prefix with the path obj.bin, and this is export file name. Right. So that should give us our file name for this, and say export file name. And for now on the NES side, we're gonna just kind of, I think, keep this hard-coded. But eventually we will be able to create almost like a manifest of the, oh, that's what that S was. A manifest of the items that we need to load for all the levels instead of just level 1. But again, we're kind of transitioning out of how we were doing it before, so we do it one step at a time. In case you haven't noticed, that's a theme with me. I like to do things one step at a time, because if you try to make too many changes, you don't know when things are broken, why they're broken. And sure, you can try and change a whole bunch of things at the same time, but then you run the risk of not knowing what got broken. Hopefully you're using source control so you can at least revert back to a last known good state. But if you're not, you end up wasting a lot of time trying to figure out what it is that got broken and why. All right, so let's try this export. Actually, one other thing I want to do before we do this. So right now I was saying we put it all, it's not even all of it, because it's just the stuff that we're exporting is getting put there. We probably have to copy the rest of the content, like the meta file. Well, no, actually, because all of that stuff gets dumped out as binary files. Okay. What I was going to say is we want to I wanted to put this into another folder, like an export folder, so that it's not messing up what's in this folder. It just kind of keeps it all organized as much as possible. All right, so if we have the map file name and then we remove the extension, well, you know what we could do as kind of an easy thing. Let me think about this. Yeah, let's just do that. So what we'll do is we'll then copy this to export file name, and then, wait, do I have to do that? Yeah, okay. Copy that to that, and then we will get file name on export file name, max file. So I'm just going to strip the path from this now. And what we'll do is we will change the map file prefix to put everything into a folder that's named after the JSON file that you opened. So add the slash, add the export file name, and then we'll add slash another. Do we need to have the other slash for this? I don't remember. I don't think we do. Make directory export file name. No. Map file prefix. And actually we want to do that first. So we're going to make the directory. So basically what we're doing is, well, let's add a comment here. So we don't come back to this and go, what the hell are we doing? Grab the map file name and remove the .json extension so that we can compose the new working folder for the export, which will be parent folder of the JSON file plus JSON file name subfolder, i.e. map1.json in c:/projects goes to c:/projects/map1/. Okay. So we got the map file name. We're going to remove the extension. We have this buffer here. We're going to copy the full map file. You know, part of the problem is this is sort of a misleading name. Map file path. So this is the full path to the map file. Or actually, should I say that? Full path? Map file full path. Okay, so load map. Where is it? All right, so we're copying the map file full path to the map file prefix. We're removing the extension, so we just get, you know, map1. We're getting this buffer. We're going to copy the path again and strip the path off of it, so we're just left with map1.json. Oh, and then we need to remove file extension, export file name. So now we can do that after. Then we are going to add the slashes, and we are going to make that directory, and then we're going to add this on to the map file prefix or copy. No, we're going to concatenate it to the end of the map file prefix. So that puts us hopefully in a position where we're going to open this and have an appropriately formed string for our export files. So let's take a look. Map file prefix shooter assets map1 / yep, that's fine, because if you watch what we're going to do, we're going to take the name and append on the appropriate end names here. So export file name. Although, yeah, so this should be map file prefix, because I want the full path. All right. So map file prefix has that, and we end up with this, which is correct. So we create that and we export it. Let's make sure that that folder got created. It did. Awesome. So it's creating our map binary, and then this will now be the these are the objects for the map, and then this is the map itself. And then the rest of the stuff, okay, so none of that is being put into the appropriate parent path. So let's fix that. So after we're done with things that are specific to the map, well, I guess these are technically specific to the map too, although they would be shared potentially, which makes a whole big... Let me think about this. Maybe we don't want it based on the named on the map because there's the potential to have multiple levels in that project file. All right, slight change. I forgot about that part. So what we want to do is take the map file full path, and then we want to get the parent path and then we want to just simply get rid of that. We want to just append export to it, and then we try to make it, and then the prefix is the that part actually is okay for this part. So what we'll do is then we'll take the string copy of export file name, map file full path, next file folder name, and then we can remove file extension and get file name. And then we just have the name of the file with no extension, which we will append to the end because that will be the export prefix for those files that are specific to the level that is loaded. Right now there's only one, but there may be multiple, so that's the right way to handle that. The rest of the stuff is going to have to be exported into that folder without being specific to the level, but that's fine. So it's map file prefix is what we want, and then export file name. So string copy s, or actually sprint f s max export file name. There's our root path and meta tile jar ink, and then this is map file. Oh, except that that's got junk on in the end that I don't want anymore. So get parent path. So we're just strip the last map specific name from the map file prefix so that these files stand alone in the export folder since they're related to all the maps. All right, so that is not spelled correctly. Meta tile, and then all right, and then we have these two files that we need to create. Those are both bin files. All right, and export file name. Okay. So we've got the export file name going here. So that is good. And then we got to do the same thing here. Although, you know, probably save ourselves a hassle here. Just realized we could. It's probably better to be explicit about the pathing, but now that I think about it, I don't really have to do that. We just do this. Just change to that directory. And then anything we create will end up in that directory. So it should be in the exports directory at that point. Let's see if I got that right. So those two files are there. Yep, and it's creating the other files in that folder now because that's the current working folder of the application. It got changed, so exception thrown, read access violation. Why is that? Because it's trying to open something with a relative path. Sure is. Or no, it's not. Wait a minute. Sprite to image. To item count is sprite name. Okay. So that's not working because it needs. What does get file name do? Oh, it just gets the short name. So I don't even really need to do that per se. I can just copy into. This is kind of awful. Do I use that anywhere else? Let's just do this. So this is full path. Oh, that's what that was for. I forgot about that. Eventually we'll have to fix that so that it's not just checking. What did it use this for? Okay. Well, let me just make it a little bit less dumb. Didn't need to be using 100 like that. So string copy s to temp. Current file list I name. Remove file extension temp. Okay, so that's got temp back, and then this should be max sprite file name, not 100, hard coded like that. All right, so now let's take a look here at our export folder. Let's drop everything from there, export the project. All right, and we've got a bunch of stuff in here. That looks like all of the right stuff. So let's copy this back into shooters here and replace the stuff that's there. There's level 1 and level 1 dot object bin, which have to go away. So this is going to cause this to break because it's looking for those files, but that's okay. So level 1 dot bin, this should be map 1, and this should be map 1 object. Player is undefined. Is it because it's lowercase? What happened? Shooter ASM 837. Those are the entities, entities.inc. Yeah, it's not capitalized. So let's fix that, shall we? Because although Windows doesn't care, we do. Now the other thing is, I don't think, yeah, I didn't capitalize this stuff. That's inconsistent. I don't know that I really care about that right now. Okay, so let's re-export that stuff and see if it has the right capitalization. Nope. All right. Is that because of player palette, player collision dot bin? Why is that? Is that it's because that's player dot sprite. Oh, I did an insensitive case insensitive compare. That's good. That's what I wanted to do. All right, let's take a look at what happens when we replace all this stuff now. Oh, more capitalization nonsense. All right, let's fix that. Well, it has capital F and B here and there. Why? Entity type. Oh, it's not referenced in here. Why is that? Oh, because it's not. Yeah. So why is that? So a couple of things. Okay, so that's still not getting generated right. This is no longer. So I guess I should put this in here, because although it is a sprite specific to the level, it could be shared. Let me reload the project file here. Okay, so export. All right, so let's grab that stuff again. I'm liking that it's kind of putting everything into that folder, keeping it somewhat organized compared to how it was just dumping it along with the C code. All right, so there are entities now, and now flyby is defined. Flyby is defined there. The draw is there. This is still wrong, but that's okay. We'll fix that. Okay, so it rebuilt it. Now let's see what happens with the newly rebuilt ROM. All right, so the colors there are wrong, but that's okay. And that's broken. All right. Well, I kind of knew that this was what was going to happen, but let's see if we can figure out why. If the data is bad, or if I just forgot something, who knows? So, well, actually, we can, before we do anything, we should be able to see based on what happens when we start the game if the, oh, so the level data is, are none of the sprites or anything loaded? No. Okay, so, oh, right. Right. Okay. Well, this is weird. I'm surprised nothing is in here because this should be the level data. So that's one thing. The asset filler is the wrong size. Right, the wrong size because this is wrong. This needs to go away. That's what needed to be adjusted, not the output from the asset tool. So let's reload that. I forgot. Eventually we shouldn't have to do that. Okay, so assets, export. Let's copy this back out. And let's rebuild. No, not that. This. Okay, so that rebuilt without having to modify anything manually. And let's see where we are here. Okay. Are the sprites at least in the right position now? No, they're not. And I don't see any of our background tiles. Why? There's all the char data. The files look like they're properly sized. Meta tile char, gradient, blue tile, green tile, bumper. Why is this still here? That should not be there. Doesn't fix the problem though. That's just, it eliminates it from up here, and it's here. I mean, it looks like it's loading. Looks like these palettes are right, so it's not so much maybe that the map data is not loading properly, it's maybe not exporting correctly. Let's take a look. .bin. Maybe it's not exporting the level data at all. Let's take a look. All right, so export map1.obj.bin, and these are map files greater than or equal to, oh, well, no, okay, so that's opening the file, okay. Map object count, so those are the map objects. Those are the, right, those are the enemies that it's going to spawn. That's fine. This is map1.bin, so it's going to create that file. It's got the map file, so it's going to open that. Map height is 100. So it wrote that. Width is 8. Start height is that. Yep, that's all good. So that seems right. It's maybe the meta tiles that are not. Let's see. If meta tiles. Okay, so that's the problem, is that whole list of meta tiles does not have any data in it. And I assume that that is the problem. So let's see. So this would go through and free the meta tiles in the beginning, and then okay, get absolute path, get tileset source. Is it not loading? What is... These are the actual images. Where... I don't remember where we were loading those initially. It's getting passed to the map to clear all of that stuff out. So that's the blank one. And then if we're loading the map, is the map load triggering the load of the meta tiles? I don't think it is. Let's go back to source tree for a second here and look at the old code, because I don't remember, I don't know if I removed something that was loading those. Let's take a look. This. There are obviously going to be a lot of changes, but I think load map hadn't really changed that much. Load map. Where? Oh. All right. So unfortunately, I haven't committed in a while. Is it? You know what? It might be in the code, in line in the code. It is in line. Oh no, it's over here, and okay, it's just having a hard time. Got it. Okay. Thought for some reason I didn't have it at all. All right. So what is it doing with? So those are the map meta tiles. It's getting the names and stuff. Is it then loading afterwards the meta tiles for meta tile selected, sprite selected? Map buffer size is greater than 0. Then draw this. Tiger Blit meta tiles map buffer. So meta tiles has nothing in it right now. What causes it to get loaded? That's the part that I don't remember. Was it just straight up loading stuff on start? Memset. So this was freeing that and nulling it all out. Those are the meta tiles. Yeah. That's 0. Why is load map getting that? What am I missing in my own project? I mean, I know what the problem is, right? The problem is that it's not loading those anymore, but I don't remember what was loading it. Is anything calling that? So That's if it's selected. This is loading the meta tile into that. It's looping through max meta tiles of the map meta tiles. I mean, that should be okay because it's looping through. Let's take a look. Let's see what that's actually got, because it should be all right based on the fact that it loaded the map. I mean, it's okay in the sense of what we're doing right now and what it needs to be. It should be looking at a sort of global collection of meta tiles that are appropriate across the entire set of maps that we have, but we only have one right now, so let's see what this is doing here. So meta tile count, we've got this map meta tiles. What do we got in here? So we have all of those, although we don't want this one, but that's okay. We'll fix that. Well, let me get rid of this for a second. I think I changed the wrong JSON file when I modified. Yeah. Get rid of this one. So let's move that out of there. Get rid of that and reload this. Again, I don't think this actually fixes the problem, but it shouldn't have that in there. So, all right, so we have those meta tiles. It's got gradient, blue tile, green tile, and bumper. So now it's writing 16 current background tile. What's current background tile? Current background tile is an index, right? M tiles, size of char. Why is it writing that one by one? I don't know. I'll have to look at why it's doing that later. All right, so we've got this, and we've got meta tile file. Oh, wait a minute. Is that gonna work? Maybe that's the problem. Is it failing to load the meta tile? Current working meta tile. It is failing to load it because this should be full path. All right, let's see if that fixes everything. That explains at least some of what was wrong. So there's that, and we rename it to .meta tile, and now it should, yeah, so now it should actually load some content into this, maybe. What the actual F? Assets, tile sets. Oh, okay. No. Wrong again. Image full path, because it sits with the images. Okay. Export that to here. We can just look at what the load does. And yes, we have some more interesting data in there and not just all zeros. Although, given, okay, yes, all right, that looks better. And then meta tile to image should actually give us some real data, and then we're going to export the exported image to there, which, let's see, export gradient dot, yes, okay. So let's let that run now through, now that it's actually loading the content that it should be loading. Put that into the shooter folder, replace everything, rebuild the assembly. What? Bumper.palette. Oh, you silly thing. So it's got the metatile palettes. All right, so it's got the full path in here and shouldn't, but we can, let's get this assembling and then I can fix that. Really? Metatile palettes, ink, line 9. Oh, I'm in the wrong damn folder. Metatiles, ink, metatile palettes, ink. Oh, gross. No, okay. So the full path thing really did a number on this. Metatile palettes, empty tiles, fprintf. Where's the file being created? Metatiles, map file, prefix, change, create file, empty metatile, metatile palette. So where is it generating the file? Okay, so that is okay, so this should be this, right? No. So this should be, this is fine with the name. The problem is that when it is, oh no, okay. Image full path, metatile file. Is it just then using metatile file for the other stuff that it's doing? Temp? Yeah, okay. So get file name temp, max file folder name temp. So just strip it down to the file name and then remove the extension, and then that should fix that problem. And then I think we're almost done there with this round of changes. So let's see what we've got. Replace, go to this. All right, so this no longer has the full paths in there. That's good. That's good. That's still okay. That's also fine, I think. That's fine. Actually, let me go back to the metatiles inks here. I want to make sure the flyby is not in here. It's not. Okay. So if we rebuild that, no problems. And let's look at the, okay, better. Hey, all right. So now all the collisions are broken because I rebuilt those metatiles, but that's fine. Let me see something else tiled. Is that right with the position of the enemies? I don't remember. Oh yeah, that is right. Okay, great. So then we should get a string of enemies spawning in the middle here. And we do. Okay. So let's fix the metatiles so that they actually cause collision for the bumper. And then we'll call it a night for tonight. I got to think about what we want to work on next. I don't really know how much progress I would or wouldn't make here. But I'm pretty happy with that because we got this round of changes here now working so that the exported material is all going into an organized location instead of just being kind of randomly dropped in a random folder that it just happens to be in, which will make working on things easier. So let's see if we restart the game in Messin, if collisions occur again. And they do, and we get our explosion, and the flyby enemies look a little weird, but that's all right. So, all right. So another shorter one, but like I said, I'm not sure where I need to go from here. We've got the project working with the sort of reorganized structure. I think we're in good enough shape that we can move forward without doing too much more work on the asset tool and start digging into the game mechanics a little bit more. Some of what we've kind of been talking about is related to the artist and I, related to how the game is going to play. Thinking about playing with the ideas of being able to fly over and under parts of the level to kind of avoid obstacles. As I had mentioned before, I really like to make it sort of work almost like a Mega Man type game, where you know, the shooter part of it is obviously important for progressing, but each level gets you some sort of special ability that you need or can use in later levels. Still have to hash some of that out, but you know, we're in a good spot with the asset tool now, that we've made these changes so that things are structured a little bit differently. I'm sure we're going to have to come back and make more changes, not even to just the things that I've mentioned, but things that I haven't considered. And like I said, at some point we got to figure out how we're going to do composite sprites, where, you know, the player sprite might be something like player.png, player1.png, or, you know, player-1.png and player-2.png, and we have to somehow position those things. I don't really know exactly how that's going to fit together, but we need to be able to support that. There's still a lot to go, and you know, and some other things I'm thinking about is, I know we made changes to the code to support MMC3 for the status bar in the game. As I've thought about it and we've kind of made some progress, I'm not even sure what I want to do with that progress bar. I kind of feel like it might be better, or not progress bar, status bar, sorry. I feel like it might be better to just get that real estate back on the screen and then just have some sort of minimal stats using sprites in the corner or on the bottom or something, and get back that screen real estate, because we're gonna make the we're gonna keep the sprite 16 by 16, I believe, and kind of feel like it needs to have more space if we're gonna do that. Eventually, gotta get the ship to collide with enemies and blow up just like it does when it collides with the backgrounds. It's actually less difficult to do. Oh, that's the other thing we got to do. So the asset tool right now isn't really doing much with the enemies. It's just exporting the positions, and we only have one type of enemy, so it's kind of just exporting the positions, and then we assume it's the flyby. We should handle the different types of enemies that we may have additionally. Right now, the code is pretty inefficient in that it's looping through the total list of possible enemies that we could have for, or that we do have for the level. So, however many this is, 5, 9, 10, 15, 16 enemy positions right now. So for those 16 enemy positions, it's just looping through that loop of 16 enemies every time, every frame of the game. What we need to do is we need to change the logic there to, first we need the export tool to sort the enemy list in descending order by Y position on the screen, and then all we have to do is check the camera against one enemy in the list, and if the Y value matches, we then progress to the next enemy and check its Y value, and we continue if the Y values match. Now, if we have it sorted, we guarantee that if we stop because we've hit an enemy that has a Y value that matches, and there aren't any others after that, we are guaranteed that we're not spawning any other enemies. So it gives us an advantage in terms of the number of evaluations we have to do per cycle for displaying the enemies. And the reason that's important is, I think I've mentioned it, and you probably noticed in the way the game is updating, if you have too much stuff going on, like the ship is shooting and the enemies are spawning on screen, occasionally you get a situation where I can make it happen. You see the background kind of glitches out like that, and that's because we have too much stuff going on, and it's not getting ample cycles to update the background. So we gotta tighten that up. But anyway, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Clairvis. I will post a recording of this to YouTube, as I have been for all previous 58 streams. If you have any comments, feel free to leave if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment on the video on YouTube. Come to Nintendo Age. Zero Pages episode 3 will be out soon-ish. Things have been pretty hectic for me lately, so it's it's been tough. Dasani Fresh, thanks. I'm glad you like the haircut. I was due. It was getting out of hand. So yeah. So thanks for watching. See you next time. And Thursday 9 p.m. Hope to see you there.